What if the Soviet Union won the Cold War? It's a commonly asked question regarding the largest geopolitical conflict of the 20th century. Welcome to Redworld, a mod that takes this simple premise and turns it into a unique world of its own. Well regarded for its simple vanilla style content, lack of plausibility, and overall fun, the mod is known within the community as a classic HOI4 mod that has since become one largely fragmented and lacking in content, a direct result of a neglect of important nations and stagnant development caused by development issues and manpower shortages. As such, today me and my friend Unsperling, who is doing his own Redworld video, will be diving deep into a classic HOI4 mod whose legacy is ever changing in the present. Redworld's most defining feature is its clarity. Its style of HOI4 modding is one that takes you back to a simple era, one with arcade style gameplay and pure vanilla mechanics. For a modern day mod, this is surprising. There's no custom economy mechanic, there's no fancy minigame where you have to navigate a country's weird politics, no scripted GUI that requires intense micromanagement, just pure unfiltered HOI4 vanilla in a modern day setting. This simplicity also reflects in country design. Redworld isn't scared of the wacky iconic paths like National Bolshevik Bernie Sanders, Norse-fired Theresa May, and rogue Queen Elizabeth. They've become symbols of the mod. Yet at the same time, these paths are treated with plausibility and resonance to really create deeper immersion. This arcade style of play is why Redworld is able to appeal to vanilla players. Its fun and free playstyle, along with its low entry level requirements to play inside a modern day mod, are deliberate in its enhancing enticement. Yet however, this simplicity is often a drawback for the mod. Many in the community feel that this olden style of HOI4 is outdated and not fitted for a modern day mod. Honestly, this is partially true. Redworld was so conservative in its design at one point that they refused to add decisions when Paradox added it, and vanilla systems like the units and tech tree might be easy for a new player to acclimate to, but they seem almost unfit for a modern day mod. Subsequently, it's this pairing of simplicity and an arcade style gameplay that give Redworld its greater appeal, albeit with the downside of feeling occasionally outdated and out of place for its time period.
A major problem with the mod though is that in an alternate history scenario like Redworld, where many nations have interesting diverging paths all with special lore, many of them don't even have content. This is highly normalized in Redworld with the neglected nations like China, Japan, France, Germany, and Iran, whilst giving content to nations like Yemen and Central America. Although this is mostly because the dev team wanted to work on small nations before moving on to major ones. One nation that I've seen a lot of people want in the game was specifically the People's Republic of China. In the lore, China stays as a Maoist government and ideology instead of a market socialist one. While still having broken relations with the USSR, China has its own sphere of influence of more Chinese-aligned Maoist states, specifically in Southeast Asia. This does create an interesting scenario of what could be in store for China's future over the next couple of years, yet unfortunately there is no content for China. Another instance of this is Germany, which in the fanfork has no content despite being one of the most important nations in the European sphere, only second to the Soviet Union, who are the spotlight of the mod's scenario and content. In fairness to the team, they're actively working hard on content for majors, but this presents a disproportionate amount of content for major nations in the game as opposed to minor ones. This is one of the reasons Redworld lacks, as this absence of entertainment and what should be exciting points of interest directly undermines the potential of the mod. The lack of content for certain majors has led the community desire to fill this emptiness, which in turn has led into the intrinsic sub-modding culture. One of the first big examples being Redworld Ducks. Redworld Ducks was originally created on July 27, 2023 by a Chinese developer who sought to add more nations like France, China, and Japan, while also adding new interesting minor nations like Vietnam and Yugoslavia with their own scenarios like the Yugoslav collapse and the ability to start the Second Vietnamese Civil War. While this mod has died and been abandoned, it was not going to be the last. Over the years, many sub-mods have been created to either remake or improve content, particularly adding content for nations that don't have any. This isn't that unique as it's an active situation in a lot of mods like TNO and Old World Blues. This sub-modding culture is a clear example of how when mods lack content in certain areas, or just does not have fun content for nation or nations, the people that play the mod and modders that play the mod take initiative and start making it better in their own view. This massive sub-modding culture is a direct result of lack of content, is one of Redworld's most defining features and extent to the community, as its almost remedial nature is a benefit and it does create content to make up for the base mod's missing areas, but also highlights the issues regarding the main mod.
Redworld has had a development filled with setbacks. Initially, the mod was run by a single person, Kaiser1871, a popular HOI4 modder who released Redworld on May 14, 2017. Working as a one-man machine, Kaiser brought Redworld to prominence with the iconic paths that are etched into the memory of his players who experienced his world. Under Kaiser, the development was somehow fast, and earnestly followed publicly as he often showed snippets of his work to the community. But then, on the 2nd of October 2019, Kaiser disappeared. Days went by as the community grew more and more curious, and as time ticked on, the fans prepared a fork of the mod just in case he wouldn't return. Then, in March 2020, the community finally got an answer. On the 23rd of March 2020, an announcement was sent on Kaiser's account. It was his cousin Sam, who had revealed that Kaiser's disappearance had been the result of a car crash in October of the previous year, resulting in his death. The reaction was immediate in the entire HOI4 community. Tributes and reactions poured in to pay their respects, but for Redworld it meant more. Kaiser's death fundamentally changed how Redworld was developed. The fan fork, which claimed its inheritance, was essentially starting from scratch. A whole new team, with a whole new development style, and many who were relatively new to running a HOI4 mod. Having already lost almost a year due to Kaiser's disappearance, the mod was behind and needed to develop a sense of consistency to make up for lost time. Yet the fanfork's transition away from a single person machine into a formal team has hampered this slightly. The team's goal of honouring Kaiser's legacy whilst consistently producing entertaining content is something that the team has struggled with, a direct result of manpower shortages and developer inactivity. This slow development as a result of setbacks and manpower has been the #1 issue behind Redworld ever since Kaiser's death, as the lack of content, semi-outdatedness and subsequent fractured sub-modding culture, which Unspurling brought up earlier, are all a direct result of this. Overall, these development setbacks as a result of shortages ever since Kaiser's death have been the #1 reason that Redworld has been held back ever since. Overall, Redworld is a simple and classic HOI4 mod that takes a common premise in a modern day setting and delivers a fun product that reverberates an older style of HOI4 modding, creating great broader appeal to vanilla players with its wacky iconic paths and its unboundedness of possibilities. Yet its lack of content, outdatedness in design and overall development stagnation as a result of developer shortages have been profound constraints on the mod ever since Kaiser's death, and a direct reason as to why a fragmented sub-modding culture has emerged. Therefore, if Redworld is to re-find its place within the HOI4 modding sphere, it should undertake some possible updates more in line with modern HOI4 standards, and redirect developer manpower towards important content creation as the developers continue to make the mod in the image of Kaiser to honour his legacy.